I don't even know if Bruce is on, but Sam is late. He's officially late. We need to have a strike facility just to, punish those who don't respect the start of the podcast.
Don't say strike round, Sam. Are we 100% sure Bruce hasn't been, had his collar felt?
What, ever since trying to flog dodgy laptops?
Yeah.
I don't know. He might.
He's disappeared.
Oh, no, he's here.
Oh, he got bail.
Homicide police can't catch you.
Fifth Amendment right, Bruce. Don't say anything.
How many of them have you shifted?
I thought I was going to be late. Actually, I'm still dealing with customers. I think I've sold about four this week, so not too bad.
I'm waiting for Sam. He's trying to rejig himself in the corner here. Oh, there he is.
What? He's doing what?
There he is. Oh, Sam is officially late. 28:01. I think that's the first round.
I'm already in trouble. Not even started yet. Bloody hell.
No, we've started. We started ages ago. We were waiting for you to turn up. Yeah, we were waiting for you to turn up.
You started 1 minute 8 seconds ago. I can see in the live thing in the top corner.
Two of us, Sam, started half an hour ago with the Warsaw pod. So,
Yeah.
Well, two of us went to the game yesterday, Mike. So two of us went to the game yesterday, Mike. So.
Oh, can you just fucking mute him? He's already doing me head in.
Daniel Lewis, evening. How are you? Good evening, everybody following us. Thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to say hello.
Hiya.
Evening, Tackleberry. Not you. Bruce wants to, Bruce wants to. Do you need to do anything more for your pot for the for the laptops? How many have you got left?
It's got its own segment now in the show on it.
Yeah, I need to find a little jingle for it.
Yeah, we'll talk later. I've got a couple of items this week that are up for sale.
Yeah, you and me both. And what was the other thing? Sorry to the Lionesses for losing in the World Cup final. That was very sad. Played like town.
They didn't twat from 30 yards.
They're already feeling bad enough as it is, Alex. Don't make it any worse. Bloody hell.
Andrew Niles says that threw me started on time. We would have started even more promptly, Andrew, if Sam had been here.
Not much as it threw me, Andrew. Otherwise, I'd be here on time, wouldn't I? I've expected to start on time. But hey ho, sod's law, innit?
There is a reason we started on time. The reason we started on time is because me and Alex were here for 5 minutes making small talk and got bored, so just started as soon as we got.
It tells me it's showtime, so I tick it on. Hot Sauce says, is that the Salford picture for the thumbnail? Are you talking about the thing behind us? No, I think that was one from Sam yesterday. These people who actually attend the games are very kind to send me an image. Bruce included his as well, but only shows the Grotty.
It didn't make the grade, did it?
No, Grotty main stands, yeah. At least Sam's is looking out from it.
Before we go any further, could I just say, Sam, when you start, flamming up, can you mute your mic? Just sat there snorting and thinking away. Just mute it, mate. Jesus.
Yeah, well, parliamentarians do what parliamentarians do.
He's got that slobbering dog off Boris, hasn't he?
Right, hold on, that's 3 minutes 22 seconds. I'll make a note of this. How long? I'm making a note every week now of how long it takes someone to make a Tory jab at me. This week it's 3 minutes 22 seconds.
I beg your pardon. There was no Conservative joke there. I said parliamentarian. I didn't say Conservative.
Oh well, you should work for the BBC with that level of impartiality. Yes, Bruce.
When you're talking about clock and time, this leads me on to my first sale item actually quite nicely.
Go on then. Hang on.
A Smiggle children's clock.
What's so special about it?
It's for kids.
It's okay.
And it's got bright colours. I mean, it could be like, I don't know, but it's just a nice clock. I can't show it's working though because there's no batteries. But yeah, I think it lights up and stuff, but I'm not 100% sure. I've got the instructions for the person that buys it.
Is that where you've got to say batteries not included there, Bruce?
Between us, Bruce, we're all right. We could do a duo sale. Look.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get that out of the way early because I need to. When we get further into the pod,
what have you got, Sam?
I got threatened with a banning order on Tuesday at Salford game.
I've got these £1 batteries.
Kodak £1 batteries, yeah. I think Father Christmas brought these from about 10 years ago.
Oh, Ben Peacock walking past my house. He's a town fan.
Shout at him.
No, he's gone now.
Ben says, "Nice little clock."
I thought my audio would be better this week. I've got AirPods now.
Bruce's, but you sound fine.
It's £6, by the way. £6.
It's £6 for that, is it?
Yeah.
But it would
Should
work
you
more
not
if
thought
you
of just
keep it in
doing
the
a
box.
car boot? Go down
Oh,
to
the-
Morrison's on a Sunday.
Yeah, but you got to pay £5 to get in. I've only got a little clock.
Exactly. I would love you to just go down and
With a
just
clock on the table.
Yeah. It's been going really well today, actually.
When you take 4, no, I can't because it's cost me £5 to get in.
Yeah, I need at least to break even. I want to get a cup of coffee. Simon
Yeah.
Hudson says that's a heavy clock. Don't make me keep saying this. Bruce is like Del Boy, says Wayne Clark.
Hey,
Hot
Wayne,
sauce
you
says-
wait for this. Where is it?
Bruce is acting like someone down Freeman Street trying to sell something they just
A
nicked.
children's iPad case, but I don't know what size iPad it's for.
It doesn't even look like it's for. Okay,
It
fine.
looks like one of them. You remember that? What's that kids film with the different coloured people? Inside Out, is it? Maybe you used to watch that. It looks like one of the characters out of that. Look.
Is it a case of somewhere around Grimsby there is a child that has had their iPad case stolen today?
Mike, shut up.
This says a lot about Bruce's, light fingeredness because he leaves the iPad and takes the case. What's
I've
this
got a
one?
Barcelona. I've got a Brazil shirt. Someone
that's
gets.
I know
Someone
we don't. I don't know.
Someone gave me this.
Set the standard very high on this pod, lads. But bloody hell, we're plumbing new depth this week, aren't we?
What?
We're
I don't think that.
We're 6 minutes in. Bruce is ordered to sell knockoff Norwich City shirts with the Brazil flag on them.
Hey, Bruce, try selling it to some Man United fans when they're disenchanted with life.
Yeah. They lost yesterday. They were lucky to get a win against Wolves, weren't they? The other day.
Bruce
They were
is
lucky it was only
right, says Josh.
They were
Connor.
lucky it was only 2-0 yesterday. The Spurs hit the bar and post twice.
Daniel Lewis, there is a film called Inside Out. I think he means like the little angry red man who gets angry with the world.
Yeah, it's
Or you might
about
have meant number
it's it's like meant to be set inside someone's brain, isn't it? And like they're all like different emotions. Is that right?
No,
Don't know why I
It's
know
it's the girl's brain. They've moved house and she's a bit pissed off with her parents, isn't she?
Richard Young says iPad case straight from the streets of Mararis. What's Mararis?
What's Rolf Harris got to do with it?
Oh, it's not his iPad, is it?
God, I hope not.
Yeah,
Oh, he's not
There was,
using
there
it
was a
anymore.
joke. There was a joke there, but I didn't make it.
Oh.
I stopped myself as well, Bruce. But
I think Richard Young.
I think we should move on. I think we should move on.
I think Richard had a decent question earlier on Twitter, and I was going to steal it. Was it him that was saying it? Yes, it was. So Richard said, and this is one for the rest of the group. So he's placed Issa's goal from yesterday as his third in his all-time GTFC goals scored at Blundell Park. The best one, full stop, was Muzzy as its overhead kick. Then it was McAtee's against Altrincham and Cockrell's against Huddersfield. What would be anybody else's top three? I'll let you all think about it.
I can't remember who he was, but he scored against us at home to Lincoln between Christmas and New Year in about 2014. We lost the game 3-1. We scored early doors. Diz put us ahead, but then we conceded in two goals in quite quick succession before half time. The one that put them ahead, he must have been 35 yards out. He hit it straight. The ball rolled out to him. He hit it first time. It went straight in the top corner. That's the best goal I've ever seen.
That was a brilliant goal. I remember that goal.
Alan Poughton's own goal.
Reading.
Yeah, that was good. Now we're talking about guys. So both Daniel and Grimbo, goals at Blundell Park only. So the ones that have been featured at BP. That's what we're looking for.
Well, the Cockerell goal won my competition, but there's different kinds of goal, aren't there? That's an absolute. I've watched it quite a few times, and it's an absolute snorter. That one yesterday, he just absolutely put his foot through it, and it just. There was people cowering behind the goal in the Osman, I think. Absolutely belter.
It was great because you knew it was getting at you, but I thought it was going in the moment it left his boot. It had that kind of vibe, but it's like
He didn't sky it.
No, it's unquantifiable, but you can just tell the moment it's left his boot. You could tell it was going in. It was one of those. It's up there for certain. It looked better on replay than it did from the main stand. Actually, probably tells you all need to know the view from the main stand. To be fair.
I assumed it was ball post, net. Is that about right?
Hold on. What?
He's on about. I think he's describing the ball's journey through your eye line from the.
Yeah. So ball post,
yeah.
He is making a joke, Sam. He needs to tell us when he's doing this. He's making a joke about the view from the main stand.
I thought he was talking about it coming off the post and then going into the goal.
No.
I was trying to be polite. I'll stop in future.
Jack Coolin says Marcus Marshall scored one. I can't remember. I remember he scored a decent one against Welling. Hot Sauce says Hunt's free kick against Barnet. I think there's been better. Ben Davis's I thought was better.
Disley's header
Morecambe.
again about 2015 at
Yeah,
home
that was
to
cracking.
Braintree. It was a ball
Robbie
from Carl
Van
Magno. Yeah,
Van Persie.
Van Disley. Yeah, that was a great goal.
Missed about 4 games in the 3 last years. Both McAtee. Oh, Jack Coupland has missed 4 games in 3 years at home. He missed the McAtee goal against Altrincham and Esa's yesterday. So stay away next week, Jack.
I spoke to a lad earlier that was he's got family over from Australia, and they didn't just arrive yesterday, but they didn't grasp how long it would take to get to Blundell Park, and they were taking them yesterday for the first time in God knows how long. And as they walked in, everyone was just sitting down from applauding the goal.
Oh no, that's harsh.
Yeah, and then we got worse in the second half. So yeah, that wasn't all in all. That wasn't a great day, was it? I said, "Oh, you missed one of the best goals I've seen at Blundell Park in years."
Is this the longest before we've actually started?
We
No.
were just doing a bit that you could join in, Mike.
Yeah, I was always fond of David Nielsen's volley from against QPR.
Yes, very good goal.
And he also did the same against West Brom, didn't he? Well, he just
the QPR. One of them was QPR, wasn't it? There was one where Stacey Caldicott crosses it from the left hand side, and he just smacks it first time into the top corner. I think that was his first goal for Town.
It was proper headers and volley stuff. That he had so much. He'd found himself so much room. He was my favourite.
He did a lovely somersault, didn't he?
Yeah, and we'd never seen that. We felt like we were big time then, didn't we?
Didn't McAtee do it after he scored against Weymouth at the start of last season? No, season before last. And
Josh, you're after BP at home. Goals at home.
He got a bollocking, didn't he, from Hurst, and he wasn't allowed to do it anymore.
Yes. Ben says from Bruce's little clock talked about balls, CBT, block and ball talk. Please don't make me say this stuff. Why are you doing that to me? Yeah, well, I guess we should really start because we scored a decent goal. We've actually talked about it already in great detail, so I'm not really sure what we're going to fill the next hour with, but we'll give it a go.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
I don't think I've ever wanted to be on a stand more in my life than in there. They're going crazy. Yeah, they got a penalty here. They've been fish flying about that. There's no tomorrow.
What a magnificent piece of football! A really, really good goal. You can't make it straight for that.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Before we get going, we'll do a couple of announcements. So on Tuesday next week, actually, I'm in Grimsby. I've just realised that. We can do it together, Bruce. We are being joined by David Burns. Once of the Football Forum has sadly been shown the door by the BBC due to cost cutting, I would imagine, and has been covering sport in the region and town for 30 years, Bruce, do you reckon?
If not more.
Yeah,
he'll tell us, won't he? He'll tell us.
Absolutely. And always a bit of a live wire. It's going to be a really interesting one. If you go to slido.com and then the hashtag is GTFC, you can put in any questions. Have a read through the ones that have been put up by people already and upvote them as we go as well. And feel free to join us on Thursday. We'll do it on Tuesday. Sorry, we'll be on here on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. So well worth joining us for that. And then the other thing, which I'm slightly nervous and excited about, is we have launched a merchandise pod shop, I guess is the best way to describe it. We've done a couple of exclusive prints that we've done from designs that you've seen throughout the last couple of years, some of which you've helped us with. They are now for sale on Etsy. So I'll put a little thing up in the corner in a minute. But if you go to etsy.com and we'll, launch it on social media too. But they're well worth doing. I have been piss-arsing about with printing them all day. So you get things like that. which is massive. Oh, I feel like one of those women in the game show. And then you also that sort of one as well. So have a look. We've also got some stickers, but we're trying to work out how we can sell them for a profit rather than for 30p a go. But they'll be up as well. So any queries on that, let us know. Please buy them because the printer we bought was very expensive. And that's it really on that. Anybody else got anything to flog or to promote?
Conservative MPs try and come quick.
We will not get anything for Conservative MPs being flogged. Well, actually, if we're flogging them, we might be able to be like, dunking a teacher at school. Yeah, Town drew 1-1. They also won against Old Little Salford, who tend to have our number. Have we actually done anything on Salford yet? I don't think we have we? Because it was a Tuesday night game. What were your thoughts on what was overall a pretty good performance? Bruce is unmuted. He's quick to go for it and was there. Thoughts?
I got in trouble before the game on Tuesday. I feel I need to confess. Maisie took a friend with her to the game on Tuesday. A few of the lads couldn't make it because it was midweek, and we were walking down Grimsby Road, and a few of the lads were going in the new Imp Club, and I thought, hang on a minute, Maisie's got a friend with her today. She can go to the game on her own, and we'll catch her up. So me and a couple of the lads, I gave her a season ticket, and off she trotted. About 10 minutes later, I'd only just got my pint. She rang me. Can I be a flag bearer, please? They've asked if we want to. Me and my friend want to be a flag bearer. Yeah, of course you can. No, that's not.
How did they ask them?
They just approached them in the stand. They see children that they think that they'd like to wave the flags, and anyway. But they need my adult signature. All right, okay. Well, I've just got my pint. I'll drink it quick, and I'll be there in 10 minutes. No, they need you now. Oh, all right then.
I reckon
I'll be there. I'll be there as quick as I can. Anyway, cut long story short, drunk my pint, walked in the ground. You've got to see the steward called, I can't remember his name, and I won't name him even if I could. You've got to see the steward, and he'll go and get them to come and get us. And what was that? They did want them to be flag bearers, but they were coming so they could tell me off as well because I'm not allowed to let unattended children go in the ground on their own. They've got to be 14. They've got to be 14. I thought they can go to town on their own, shopping, and they can do this, that, and the other, but they've got to be 14 apart. And I genuinely never realised. So apparently this woman was going, where's your parent or your adult? Oh, over there. Maisie sort of pointing through the finders. What, in the bar or the toilets or something? No, in the pub. So anyway, I think I'm one more misdemeanor away from a stadium ban. I think.
I surely the turnstile operator's got to have some say in this, haven't they? As they let two random kids through the gate.
That was mentioned, but yeah. Anyway, apparently it was my bad.
Well,
so anyway, I don't know though. What I need to find is because what I used to let her do, if we were in the fan zone and she was bored, then I would let her go to the state. I'd let her go and sit in the seat, and I'd come round and meet her. But technically, I'm in the ground, aren't I? In the fan zone.
Well, shall we we'll put this to Christine, shall we, for clarification? How
I'm in the ground. I'm next.
You're
to
on the property.
Lights.
Yeah.
Anybody if I stand under the floodlight, anyone that wants to argue that the floodlight is not in the ground with me, I'll argue that.
Bruce.
Yeah. Anyway,
Bruce.
I got in trouble.
Bruce arguing with social services.
One more of them. One more strike, and I'll be on the club banning list. And I'll have to scun it because they cancel all theirs.
I think the first stop, if you want to do it again, Bruce, is to brief Maisie in advance and say, "Where's your dad?" And when they ask that question, oh, by the way, he's just helping some distressed old ladies cross the road. He's doing a community good, rather than saying he's in the pub with his mates having a couple of drinks.
Or she could say I'm in the toilet with diarrhea. They're not going to come and check on that, are they?
No, that's true.
The stewards probably know you. There's one of those stories they will probably believe, and it isn't the old woman one.
I reckon it's all been planned. I reckon the stewards knew. And they're like, actually, can you see Maisie's here on her own? Let's get her to be a flag bearer.
Let's get him.
Yeah. Let's get him. He sold me a laptop and it's been dodgy as anything. It hasn't worked.
Anyway, if that's the case, I've got some more.
Oh, yeah.
Buy another one. To be fair, when you're selling this sort of stuff, you only really want it to last a year, don't you? So they need another one.
Only fools and Fennec.
That won't happen with the Prince, by the way.
This steward hasn't got a kid that no longer has an iPad cover, do they?
Yeah. Didn't see
comment.
that clock being nicked, did they?
No
I
comment.
missed this bit. I should have had the Last of the Summer Wine music on. I've missed a golden opportunity here.
No, it was a serious offence, and I don't think it needed you to make jokes of it.
No, we don't want to need to make light of
I'll be honest, Bruce.
No,
if I'd
Bruce
done
is
that,
in another preseason as a player.
if I'd done that, I wouldn't have fessed up on a podcast to tens of people.
There's only us four in there.
I would have tried to keep that as quiet as possible if I'd done that.
Well, he has to keep it
know.
quiet.
It was a genuine mistake, and if anything, it's a public service thing, isn't it? Because I'm now letting all the other people that do the same thing know that you're not supposed to do it, and make your kid look miserable. If they're sat on the ground on their own, make them look miserable, like they don't want to be a flag bearer. That's the moral of the story.
Did me and Leanne passed Charlie over the away area. Is that a problem? Charlie went into the Woking game in the Woking side, and then at half time we swapped him over and brought him into the better side. Am I being a derelict?
So he jumped in with the away fans.
Yeah.
Or the home fans.
Yeah. As an 18-month-old.
He wants banning, not you. He wants banning.
That's true. That is very true. Question is, Bruce, will you let her do it again? Asked Daniel Lewis. No comment.
I need to move seats next season.
I do like the idea now that Maisie's going to come in and all she's going to have is, "Where's your dad? Where's your dad? Where's your dad?"
She'll be fully briefed. I'll be on a watch list now of some sort, won't I?
Yeah,
they're going to try it with everybody now. They've got Bruce. They've thought, right, this is now our opportunity to kind of get all sorts of banning orders with all sorts of negligent dads out there.
Finally, we can no longer use Blundell Park as the babysitting service it was expected to be.
Bruce is going to walk down the lower the next game, and he's just going to get, or Maisie's going to walk like, "Where's your dad? Where's your dad?" from like all the fans around him.
Is it babysitting or is it child abuse? I kind of verge between those two when I'm talking to Dad about it these days. Why did you take me? Why did you insist on bringing me back?
Could be worse. She could go dancing. She could go to the Memorial for a bloody week in the holidays dancing.
What are we talking about, Sam?
Shit in the world.
So you sort of say that you mentioned football there being a kind of form of babysitting. Is it babysitting or is it child abuse taking them to Blundell?
I didn't know whether you were talking. I didn't know you were talking about Blundell Park or taking him to the local Conservative club.
I knew where that was going the moment you open your mouth. It's so predictable. You need some new ones.
Policies, yes, please.
I'm sort of looking forward to next year when we're out and it's your lot in. I can start joking.
I can see it now. Conservative parliamentarian admits defeat 18 months from election. As if you go to Scunny, says Jack. Can we bring up this pit being not at the highest level of discount at all? Oh, right. Okay, then. Oh, fine. I've wandered into that one. I don't know anything about it in terms of, I don't know what the national levels are, and it's up to them to decide.
I'm sitting out of this one.
It's an emotive subject, but I can understand where the club come from. It can open up a floodgate of people, but I would imagine they have to go through some national list and point scoring. And I wouldn't want the club to be the arbitrators of who is disabled, worthy of a disabled discount or not. Because I think there be dragons, but I also think there is room for leniency and a bit of community spiritedness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. Before we start talking about the football, I think Jason said on Twitter he was going to have a look at it and see what's happening. I think that's fair, and I think we've got to allow the club to do that. We don't know the ins and outs of cases, we don't know the ins and outs of the policies and what have you, so it's difficult to really draw any conclusion about. I think that the club have said they're going to look into it, and from what you know about the club, they'll look into it properly and look into it fairly, and then we'll just see what happens from then. But I don't think the fact we don't know any details from either side of it really gives us much to be able to add to it.
Yeah, and all I would say is, I don't expect the club to be the person that's having to qualify what would count as a disabled ticket or not. I would imagine they go on some sort of government guideline. I look to Sam, it'd be very rude to ask him because I assume he doesn't know that, but I would imagine that would be the policy.
I've done some work regarding it, but I might look into it tomorrow actually, just for kind of interest as much as anything regarding how how the rating is, if it works. And I know there was some campaign a couple of years because they made it harder last year to qualify for a certain level of a level of PIP. I don't want to go into it on this, to be honest, because it makes me think I'm talking about bloody work, and I don't want to do that. But I do know there's been a change in the last year that's made it harder to get things like football season tickets due to your PIP rating.
Yeah, and I've had experience with that with my father-in-law, so I understand where it's coming from. And whoever it is, I don't know who they are, but a hell of a tough time to going through it. And if the club is one of your connections, then I can understand why it's so important. And one thing I would like to say is that it's taken far too long to improve the disabled facilities at the club, because at the moment, it's absolutely fine in terms of being sat in the sun in the corner. But when it starts to get miserable and it's hammering it down, it's not good enough. And we need to, at the very least, just buy a, mobile classroom with a few windows in it and put it in a corner while we're.
I know what about it isn't justification, but it was just the same case at Meadow Lane last week. The disabled fans at the kind of bottom of the stand were getting absolutely piss wet through.
Yeah.
Last Saturday. So I just thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, brilliant. I hope we covered that exceptionally touchy subject. Thank you, Daniel, for throwing that at me. Let's talk about football. Drew 1-1 with Mansfield. The only thing I would say, after 2 games against them in the close proximity, I would like to say that Mansfield are a lot better than us. And with 9 players out injured, that was a pretty impressive performance from them.
I think, yeah, they're a damn good side, aren't they? I think that's the first thing you've got to prefix it with. There won't be many sides, if any. I'd be surprised you come to Blundell Park and play with that much authority on the ball, in terms of their possession, in terms of their comfort on the ball, in terms of their movement off it, in terms of the options all the players had. It looked like they had an extra man right throughout the day, right throughout the afternoon, from the first sort of 15, 20 minutes onwards, when they really got on top of the game and didn't really give us a sniff in terms of the kind of balance of play. So I suppose the positive you can take from that is that I reckon they're as good as anything we're going to come up against in terms of footballing this season, and we've come away with a point, if you want to put a really positive spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, from what I've seen, there's going to be 20 football teams that are worse than Mansfield that come to Blundell Park this year. Didn't know much about them before the season started, but from
are
what
we
we've
one
seen,
of them?
Yeah,
quite comfortably, mate.
We are, but I think they're a very good team. They're a team that have had a few years together. They've had time to be able to go through transfer windows and build a squad, and you can see that by the fact they've got nine injuries, but they still all know how to play the game. We're a lot different and a lot earlier in our journey, where we've got quite a lot of new signings coming in. But quite one or two, and I don't want to say more than that, but there was 1 or 2 comments yesterday about it being the same as last season. Well, I can guarantee you, we play a team that good last season, we lose. We lose by 2 or 3. And I think for as good as Mansfield were, the goal came from a long ball in behind, which we should have cleared.
We really should have cleared, given we made the same mistake 2 minutes earlier. That's what really annoyed me about that.
And I do think, as good as they were, they started to resort to whacking it long in behind waterfall, which caused a lot of problems. So they can be they're a good football inside, but until they put it in behind us, we were winning. So the frustrating thing is, the goal should have been avoided. I think you've got issues with Eastwood coming off. You've got issues with Waterfall getting exposed a little bit in that game. Maybe that's a conversation we have about, people are taking advantage of his slowness and his inability on the ball. But we really should have defended that. It was a straight ball in behind, and that's a frustrating thing. A team as good as Mansfield, that's how they get the point. Looking as the season goes, I think this week, 3 points against Salford, a point against Mansfield is pretty much as good as any of us would have thought. And that's a good week, and I'm quite happy with that point and the 3 points against Salford.
I thought there was a decent chance at the start of the week. I remember thinking there's a realistic chance we're going to end up with 1 point after 4 games, given the 2 sides who were playing. So to sort of follow on from that, I think we talked about it. If we can get through this sort of first sort of 8 or 9 games, I can't remember what it is, and we're still within sort of touching distance of still within a few points of the top 7, then I think we'd all take that. Bruce mentioned last week about, if we're going to compete, we need to be taking points off these sides who we think can be up there. And this week we've taken points off two sides who we expect to be up there. So I know I tend to be more towards the more positive end of the spectrum on this kind of thing, but I think a lot of the negativity, or even whether the negativity, I think in some cases it's a small minority that's the noisiest. Is a bit unfair and needs a bit of perspective, to be honest, given the sides we've been playing against. Anyway, I've spoken for quite a lot there.
That's all right, Bruce. You were closest to the goal we conceded. Sam knows who he's blaming. He's back on keeper lynching and is
bring back Crocombe.
Bring back Crocombe. He's saying. What were your thoughts on the performance? Because my general thought was it was a classic Hurst game in which he was a little bit slow to change it and only changed it after the goal went in, while Nigel Clough changed it at half time. But given how the team performed after he changed it, maybe the reason he didn't change it is because the people that he was bringing on wouldn't be able to affect the game.
I thought we
played change a lot then.
I thought we were fairly equal till about 10 minutes from half time. The two teams, I didn't think they were massively better than us in the first half, barring that they had a 10-minute spell up to half time where we were hanging on a little bit. But up to that, I thought we played some quite nice stuff. Enjoyed watching. Sort of one of my friends was seeing Conte properly for the first time, and I thought he broke it up quite well. Obviously, we scored a really, really good goal, which we've talked about. But when they changed, you're right. I mean, I think a lot of the time when it's a tight game, I think that's when Paul Hurst doesn't like changing it, when he thinks that it's really sort of nip and tuck, and even though we might be getting sort of outdone on the pitch, the scoreline is quite close. And some of the time you think, yeah, that's when you should be changing it, and like you say, to try and sort of affect that. But I just think that if it's a tight game in scoreline, then I don't think he likes making many changes. And as you say, Nigel Clough changed. They went a lot more direct, a lot of balls over the top. We had quite a high line generally, and they troubled us every time they played the ball in behind. You can see why. I don't know if Mar is particularly quick, but why he wants to start with Mar and Rodgers, because they were a good side, and they caused problems. And they didn't do it in the first half. Their number 7, when we went to them in the cup, I thought their number 7 absolutely terrorised us. I've said it before on here. He just was playing all across the front line. He seemed to be playing in midfield yesterday, behind the front three. And I don't know whether that helped us in the game, because probably, I'm assuming, because of injuries, he was there. But yeah, and I mean, like Sam says, we'd had a warning. They went round the keeper. They got through with a direct long ball in behind us. And luckily, sort of I don't know what he was trying to do. He tried to dink it over Eastwood and dinked it wide. But yeah, the goal was coming, and it was disappointing the way we conceded it. But with those two centre backs up against their forwards who were rapid, it was always going to be a problem. We maybe needed to drop off a bit. There were quite a few other balls, Sam, weren't there? And I mean, you probably saw them on TV as well. Where Eastwood had to come to the edge of his box waiting for a through ball, Sam. There must have been 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, there were. Where to come to the edge of his box, and then I had to just clear it out to deal with it, sort of just sort of safety first thing. I think in the goal he's scared about coming out, charging out, and the red card risk, I think, is what's happened with Eastwood there. I've seen it back, and I think my initial reaction yesterday was a little harsh on Eastwood, actually. It's a ball in behind.
Told you.
Shall we bring the receipts?
I'm admitting I was wrong. Eastwood's not covered himself in glory, don't get me wrong.
No, absolutely.
It's not all on him. Following on from that point Bruce is making, I think that actually in some ways might come back to the Waterfall's lack of ability on the ball, that he's just not happy playing balls to Waterfall. And we are playing higher this season. We are wanting to play more football, and that is exposing Waterfall's limitations more.
It's nice to start watching these games and to sort of start making an opinion, formulating an opinion on the players. I mean, I think everybody's got the same opinion of Conte. graceful, strong. Can create the balls. Malarkey looks pretty competent on the ball as well. Quite like Rodgers too.
Malarkey's a bit of a curate's egg, if you ask me. He's good on the ball, but he's got a rick in him. A couple of times he's been done a bit. Now, of course, he's a better player than Mishi. Okay, I'll proceed it with that before you think I'm defending my mate. But I don't. There's a couple of times I've thought, ooh, with Malarkey.
I miss Mishi. Yeah,
Defending his mate. He has no idea who you are, Sam. He's not your mate.
that's not true. He's got the restraining order to prove he knows exactly who Sam is. What was the not still trying to formulate an opinion on Ganua in terms of as a player. I'm not 100% sure he's any better than Vernam. I think Vernam's a better player on that side.
He was a complete irrelevance yesterday. I didn't notice him at all. He was completely anonymous. He did all right shooting. He did all right shooting night for sort of 60 minutes until he faded. I think he was a bit tired, but yesterday he was just the game passed him by.
And I'm not massively convinced by Pike either at the moment, but I understand he's coming back from an injury. He looked a bit.
He's got to turn the pace.
Hurst made a point yesterday of saying people were playing quite dumb, and I don't know who he was alluding that to, but I put a point out on social media yesterday when Rose and Pike were both there. Pike was on an offside position, and Rose was two yards behind him, and instead of allowing Rose to get the ball, Pike took it and got taken offside. We haven't even spoken about the potential red card yet, and I'm amazed by people's thoughts on that.
I do think it's a little bit harsh on Ganua and Pike. I understand why you're doing it because it is true. But I think players that have been injured or haven't had a full pre-season, I think they need a little bit of time to settle down. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you're factually incorrect. I just think just let's wait and see with that. With Ganua on Tuesday, it looked like he's got a really good control of the ball and can be an asset. And the only change I was thinking that we should have made maybe before the goal was a bit of fresh legs, because he looked like he was struggling a little bit, and I'd have liked to see maybe Vernam just to give us a bit of an outlet once we turn the ball over and to run at them and try and put them on the back foot a little bit. But yeah, I think those two lads, they need a bit of time in the squad. But Ganua, I think, was great on Tuesday, but not so good yesterday.
Bruce, you're very quiet. What are your thoughts? Sam, quiet.
He wasn't great at Mansfield. He was in that midfield three that we played at Mansfield away in the cup. Him, Green, and Holohan that got completely overrun.
And I can understand.
Am I right in thinking that we've played him in midfield and up front as well, out wide so far,
yeah.
or am I? So because he played in midfield at Mansfield, I'm sure he did in a midfield three, and then he's played him up front since, I believe, and I thought he was all right on Tuesday, but again, as has already been said, I thought he was, But do you think that the 12-month contract sort of says a little bit? We're giving 12 months. You've got to, you're not here for 2 or 3 years like most of the contracts were going out this summer. But then we did have him on trial for a while, so Hurst, should know what to get out of him. I think he's probably been a little bit disappointed in Vernam's start to the season. I think we probably all have. The player that left us and got his move to, went to Bradford and then went on to Lincoln. He really hasn't started particularly well, and I'm hoping that. I'm sure he is as well, that he can turn that round. But he struggled in those first 2 games, and I wasn't surprised to see him or the whole left-hand side benched on Tuesday. And we certainly looked a different side. But I think, as we've all said, that Mansfield team looks really good. Now, the only thing I will say is that Sam said they've been together a long time. They didn't play like that last year, as far as I can remember. Not with that quality. And
not to mention 9 injuries yesterday. They had their back line had been ripped apart.
They look a good side. I'll be watching them with interest still, and obviously we're going to play them for the second time. I think on Boxing Day.
No, we're not. Notts Police won't let that game take place on Boxing Day, Bruce. We've been scheduled.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock with
yeah.
250 Town fans allowed in the ground.
3 in the morning, Christmas Day.
What I would say about Burnham is he always was a streaky player, wasn't he? So he'd have 10 games of anonymity, and then he'd go on a burst of scoring a few goals and getting a few assists, and looking like he was setting the world on fire. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have another period in sort of like, let's say, in a few weeks, he kicks on and he scores 6 goals in 5 games, and then all of a sudden vanishes for another 2 months. That's just how I remember him from his first time here.
I think that might be a bit harsh because he wasn't like that at Bradford. I do think, not yourself, but I do think in general, I think we've gone a bit too early on a few things. Yeah, maybe starts aren't great, but when you start, we start thinking about not the player we used to have. Like we're talking 3 games. We're talking 3 games, Let's settle down into the season. They've been taken out of the squad. I'm pretty sure Burnham and Glennon will come back in at some point, and then it's up to them to kick on. But I mean, to draw conclusions on any players at the minute, I think is, other than Conte, because he's just amazing. But to draw any conclusions on anybody else, I think we're just got to let things settle down a bit.
I think you draw some conclusions. You can draw some conclusions that a lot of the players that we've signed are definitive upgrades on what preceded them. I think you can make that analysis already.
Yeah, that's probably more of a comment on what they've, is that a comment on how good they are or how ungood the players they replaced are?
Yeah, you can argue that. You can argue that one both ways. You can argue that one both ways, can't you?
I was looking for a diplomatic word there, Alex.
Bruce said that you can't remember Mansfield being as good as that last season. I can't remember anybody being as good as that last season. Maybe Swindon, but then we helped them by going down to 10 men, didn't we, early doors? I can't remember anybody
being intimidated by Mad Gav. Richard, going to what people have said, Richard Young says a positive. We've only had 1 defeat in 13 home games, though quite a few of them are draws. Hurst has got us back to being a stubborn, hard-working team. Just need a little more attacking. I still think we're missing a guy up front. I think, Rose always feels like a foil to the person up front rather than the main man. But I'm appreciating the work he's putting in. Who else have we got? GTFC Forum says Easer's 20 plus goals. I believe that Eastwood could easily get us that 15 plus clean sheets this season if the league and I back top half finish at the end of this season. What are your thoughts on? We talked, pre-show, I guess, in the green room, shall we say, about Issa. Any thoughts on him and his contribution so far this season?
It's looking more and more early days, but as we said before the season started, we wanted the Issa from Scunthorpe, not the one from Bradford. You remember the Issa that went to Bradford was a bloody good player in this division. Had a bit of a tough time at Bradford, but it's looking, touch wood, it continues. But if we're getting anything like the one that left Scunthorpe, we've got a hell of a player in League Two.
Hursty spoke quite extensively about it in his pre-match interview. Actually, he said that he had him at Shrewsbury, and then he signed him for Scunthorpe, and he said that he got a small injury in pre-season at Shrewsbury, and then was pretty much injury-free throughout the rest of the season. And then he signed him at Scunny, and he was basically injury-free all the way through the 6-7 months, whatever it was, Hurst was there. So he thinks it was a specific thing at Bradford in terms of the way they train and the way they look after players. And he said, of course, what we do here is going to be more akin to what he did at Shrewsbury and Scunthorpe. So if we can keep him injury-free, we've got a player that's better than League Two. He can certainly hit a goal. He can certainly finish. I think I saw some daft stat that he's got, 3 goals from 0.07 XG or something so far this season, or something daft like that.
Don't be throwing racist stats out there like that.
Right.
He's set me up as. Do you know what? If he's going to do that. We're never going to be able to sell this podcast now. That's going to be copyrighted within 30 seconds. At least the Max one, they had the decency never to copyright it.
No, wish they had done. He's gone.
Who's gone?
Crocombe.
You fall for every time, Sam. Every time.
Sam. He kept a clean sheet and got a booking in the 92nd minute yesterday.
He's made 8 saves yesterday. I hope Burnham enjoys that for the rest of the season. Anyway, we're talking about us. I would like to see him take on his man a little more. Okay, being hypercritical. I would like to see him take on. He's a quick lad and he's skillful. I would like to see him knock the ball past his man and try and beat him a little bit more. But that's maybe me being a little bit too harsh.
Instead of smashing it in from 30 yards, I'd rather he took it round him.
No, you can't. Oh, you can't beat your man from 30 yards though on the touchline though, can you, mate?
Do you want to bet? I bet he does.
Sam's the only one booing that goal.
I did say I'm being that's me being hypercritical, but of course, no, he's.
It was just that was just a long ball gone long, wasn't it, Sam?
DL. Try to offer an alternative.
This is too much fun.
I think you exasperated him.
Now, well, it's the only reason I do this.
Can I go back to Danny Rose for a minute?
Yeah, please do, Bruce. Let's talk about something else.
I haven't got a Danny Rose one.
Good. He worked. He does work very hard, and I saw yesterday that he drew the most fouls. I don't like that sort of terminology, but he won the most fouls in the division, and he does get his body in between man and ball, and does go down a little bit. And we need to learn how to be a threat from set pieces because he wins a lot of them. But a lot of his work that he does is on his own, and he won until they swapped the players yesterday. He was getting a lot of joy in the air against the centre back. They had a huge centre back yesterday that they put on him later on in the game, but he kept peeling off and playing against the other guy, and he was winning everything. But we don't play anyone close enough to him, or have enough people gambling that he's going to win a flick on. And I've always thought at any level of the game, if you're going to win a flick on, if you're going to play for flick-ons, somebody needs to be playing off that striker to go and get a flick on. The amount of times that he wins balls and it just rolls through to the keeper is that's something we need to work on, in my opinion. I don't know if any of you have got an opinion on that.
I'm maybe bigging him up too much, but I think that plays in the building. I think he's Donovan Wilson. I think those two were signed to play as a pair, given they were both signed in the first week of June or whatever it was. So I think Hurst has identified the sort of, because Wilson's a sort of on the shoulder, running in behind, and that's just the type of striker you're talking about, isn't it? To kind of profit from the flick-ons of Rose.
I think I agree with that, Sam. I think I said a few weeks ago, I'm not entirely sure we want to be playing like that, Bruce. I mean, from what I've seen, I don't think we want to be a team that's hitting it up to Danny Rose to flick on for somebody to get hold of it. I think sometimes it just happens when you're under pressure.
Usually
I
get
found
out
the
more.
song. I found the song.
You should get out more, mate. This
What
a tune.
In terms of moving forward, making it work, I think sort of cohesion and them working together and gelling a bit more maybe makes that. And maybe the wingers haven't worked out that Danny Rose is going to win more headers than he's going to lose. So over time they get more confident to push on a bit. But I think more generally throughout the season, I don't think we want our centre back and our full back to have it and be pinging it up to Danny Rose. I think Hurst talked about, especially in that Gillingham game we was all at, about not being able to get out of a defensive action. And I think with Danny Rose, they've got somebody mobile enough to chase a ball into the channel, but somebody also who can try and hold the ball up to relieve some pressure. So I don't think it's a case of necessarily needing to get a man on to flick it on, because I think we want to play differently. But I think we have an option to try and get us up the pitch a bit when we're under pressure.
And as Bruce
I don't know if you remember Gillingham, Bruce. Every time we booted it up, it was coming straight back for about 20 minutes, wasn't it?
And Rose has the ability.
90 minutes for what? Go on, Sam. Sorry.
Rose has the ability also in that situation, Mike, to win a cheap free kick, as Bruce said, which is invaluable if you're trying to relieve pressure.
I think what I'm trying to say is that whether we want to play that way or not, we are at the moment, or we're playing parts of the game that way. I just feel that one of the two wide men need to get closer to him, or else there's no point in him winning. There's no point in him winning a flick on, or getting out of it.
I agree. I think just over time, maybe the wingers will get a bit more confident and chase those on. But I think what will be good is to see us, after we've had a run of games against some maybe more similar opposition, to see how we want to dominate games. I think when you play in Mansfield, who have as much as the ball as they're going to, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, even though you want to impress how you want to play. In pre-season, I wasn't seeing us try and play off Danny Rose. That wasn't how we were playing.
What do you guys think about? Do you all hear Hurst after the match yesterday? And he was talking about players showing a lack of footballing intelligence and saying that we can do our best, but the game's as it is, we can't make every decision for them. Specifically digging out Danny Amos when he said if Danny Amos makes the decision to go and try and win that header that results in the miss just before the goal that Bruce talked about earlier on, he needs to go and win that header. What do you think that's frustration that the players aren't doing what he wants them to do? Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it definitely is, but I also think it's maybe a veiled comment at the players to put your ideas up. I'm not here to make decisions for you, and by making it in public, it maybe reinforces that. Is you're grown adults, you're grown football players. It's up to you to make the right decisions, and if you can't, then you can't be a professional football player. That sort of thing. You know, you're in control of what you do on a football pitch, and maybe it's a case of trying to reinforce something he's been saying for a few weeks to them.
May we please talk about something that's completely perplexed me, which is what should have been a red card. And I am amazed that people don't think it was a red. It was definitely. You can argue red card because it's not a red card, punishable offence, but it's absolutely a free kick, and it's
a red card, and if it's a free kick, it's a red because he's clearly on goal. And number one, it's outside the box, so there's no double jeopardy. And secondly, it's no attempt to win the ball. Two things I would say to that. First thing, in the main stand, I didn't think it looked quite right at first viewing. Having seen it back, there's a clear hand in the back from Bowery on Holohan.
I just don't think people understand physics. Those guys are running at, well, for Gav anyway, he's running at full speed, and it lessens the it's third law of thermodynamics. You only have to gently push you, and it takes you off your kilter. He's not. If he was going to dive, he'd have dived a yard and a half later when he was in the box, not outside of it.
And as he said,
ahead of the player. Yeah.
And as he said, I'd back myself to finish it from there, and I'd back Gav to finish it from there. He's probably in that side. Yes, he's probably the most natural finisher in the side. The thing it laid bare to me is it should have been given. It was an example of why you don't play centre forward at centre half. That was a centre forward who's panicking with the guy who's got the wrong side of him, because Jordan Bowery is a centre forward, yeah, they've got away with one there. Would it have made any difference, or would they have just got into their shape?
I would, yeah. I agree with you, Sam. I don't think it'd have made a difference to the match. I think Mansfield were. I'm slightly concerned. They're an amazing team, but again, I keep saying 9 injuries to their team. Everybody's got a chance at the moment, and they have been so much more dominant against us in those 2 games. I think he would have been sent off, but I would imagine at the very least they would have just kept it tight, put 10 men behind the ball, and I don't think we've got the ability to break a team down yet.
But then we're saying how much that played is, and we've got to point out the game. That's got to be a positive thing, surely. If we can grind out points that we shouldn't be getting realistically,
it's definitely a positive. But at the same time, in my head, the Mansfields to Salfords are where we need to be and above, to be given how this league is going to be this season, if the aim is the playoffs. But no, we've had that conversation that I think we're going to be better than we are, but we'll probably actually finish in the same position in the league as we did last season.
It's a red card all day long. I agree. It's a foul. And the way I look at it is to ask yourself a very simple question. If Gavin Houlihan is a defender running back to defend that ball and goes over like that with that contact, does he win a free kick? And yes, he does. Every single day of the week, that's a free kick to a defender. And that's the problem sometimes, is the threshold we have for giving penalties, the threshold we have for giving attacking free kicks, and as opposed to defensive free kicks. So if Gav is the defender there, the referee blows his whistle, it's a free kick. I
had it at the last foul of the game was just a light push by Clifton, and it was a free kick.
We see it in the corner all the time. A player just runs up and just puts a hand on the back, no force, and they give a free kick. Well, this was a degree of force, and Gav is clean through. He's going to back himself to score that. As a referee, you've got to wonder, why has he gone down outside the box when it's not a penalty? Why has he decided to go down? Or is it the case he hasn't gone down, he's been put down, which I think is quite clear.
That's
he's bold. He's balled it because he'd have to send the man off.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Don't want to ruin the game, do you? That's the thing. You don't want to ruin the spectacle.
Did you see? Did you see?
Bruce has got a right smile. He's the only one that got that reference.
I got it. Did you see? Did you see the Chelsea West refereed by our old friend Mr. John Brooks, who gave a series of shocking decisions in town games up to his old tricks, giving dodgy penalties that may or may not have been outside the box again.
Oh, I hadn't seen that. No.
Now, the West Ham, the Chelsea penalty would look like it was just out. He was the one who gave that. Do you remember at Swindon all those years ago when Harry Cardwell was not fouled outside the box and the ref gave a
That was a
Do you remember that?
penalty.
Stonewall.
That was a
Oh,
blatant
I could have been
foul.
killed.
Sam,
Could have killed him. Could have killed him.
Could have killed him. Get the
that turned
beggar
our
off.
Season round.
The only
Dirty
worst thing I've seen is Daniel Orsi's GBH on a football field.
Yeah. Absolutely disgraceful. Are we finished?
Ah, I'm trying to- This is even worse than usual.
That was the worst thing you've ever said on this podcast, and that's the low bar.
That's the
Jesus.
worst thing I've bloody. I need to have a long hard look at myself. If that's, oh dear. Do you excuse me? I've got to go and consider my life choices over there. I need to leave early. This is one of the worst moments of my life.
It's one of the best moments in my
he's
life.
Pooped himself, and he live on camera. Stephen McDade is doing his best to pull us back to reality. It was just a poor decision, nothing to be concerned about. Look at the bigger picture. Decent start to I assume it's season. Nothing to be concerned about. Decent start to the season with a new side given time to gel. I've just sent the same message 3 times. Then Daniel Lewis was fucking fuming about something. I assume because the next message is Mike. It was about Mike. Everybody is. Richard Young says this league is already proven to be a fair, harder competition. Mansfield are only a point ahead of us, but look tremendous. County did well last week as well. One team that isn't looking well is Wrexham, who 5
Have the same number of points as us.
Yeah,
I've got a point.
So
might
do
not
we.
be interesting. Might not be interesting, but Alex, you were saying before the season started about how many goals we need to score to how many we need to not concede to get more.
Yeah.
Gillingham have won 4, but they've won 4 1-0s.
Yeah,
And that's
what
coming.
I think,
I think that's interesting.
And that's coming to end a week on Saturday, lads.
So the point I make,
yeah, they're going to
is
win
that
3-0.
we've scored one more. The point I'm making is you don't have to score a bag full of goals in this league. I know it's early days, but 4 wins, 4 1-0s.
Thank fuck for that.
And you can already tell. I mean, you're making a serious point that as always, it's a side that isn't going to concede many goals. You can already see we can absorb pressure, and we can cope with a side who's going to have the ball for longer periods against us. You can already see that you'd always expect from a Hurst team. Someone else put in the comments about what would be a decent haul of points from the first 10 games. I'd maybe cut that down and say the first 8 games. So that goes up to the Wrexham game on the 16th of September. After that, on paper, the games get a little bit easier. But if we've got, say...
I think I said
16.
14, didn't I? Didn't I say 14?
You did say 14, yeah. And I think if we've got... How many got now? 5? If we've
Yeah,
got 11 or 12...
points.
If we've got 11 or 12 points after the first 8 games... Sorry, 11 or 12 points in total after the first 8 games, I think that's that would be decent. Because we're going to lose one of these next... We're due to lose at Walsall. We've won there the last 2 times I've been there on bank holiday weekend at the end of August. Because having gone behind early doors and turned it around, so we're going to get beat there next week.
Could I just? Did you just say a minute ago you think we're going to have less of the ball throughout the season? Did I hear you?
No. I said we're obviously able to absorb pressure when sides do have more of the ball than us, like we did yesterday. I mean,
Right. Okay.
yeah, there were a lot of times when Wimbledon. I bet the position from yesterday was inverted, wasn't it?
The only reason I picked it was because
inverted.
I'd half heard it, and I thought this year we're going to have a lot more of the ball than we did last year. I think we look a lot more comfortable on it.
Yeah, everybody, keeper, centre halves, central midfielders, fullbacks, a lot.
Adam Town wants to talk about that. Can't be your name, Adam. Wants to talk about atmosphere at home. I think we've done it quite a lot. Bruce, Sam, you guys were there. What was the atmosphere like?
It only really got on Tuesday night. It was better than it was tonight because there was a bit of a kind of when we were perceived the ref was giving us nothing on Tuesday night. That generated a little bit of an atmosphere for a few minutes, but again, it was the same kind of people trying to get the songs going at certain stages, but it's just a kind of a lost cause. I feel we've debated it to death and the reasons for it.
What about you, Bruce?
I agree. It was very hit and miss. the upper Findus was the one that kept trying to keep going. The lower joins in a little bit, but you've got singers in different parts of the ground. You know, you've got lads that used to be pontoon years ago that are in the upper now, and you've got, like Sam says, we've talked about it a lot. I don't think anyone's done anything particularly to try and do anything about it, as you suggested. And I think it'll continue to be the way it is, where it's sporadic. I mean, where we sit, I know not everyone joins in, but there's probably a third of people that regularly join in where we sit. The others just aren't interested for whatever reason.
The only way you could do it, I think, it's a new idea I saw, is that you'd have to make the pontoon and the lower Finders unreserved to try and get people to kind of congregate with their mates who are going to sing together and get a drum in the middle of it. But I just don't know how obviously that's not feasible.
It just sounds chaotic, doesn't it? But
feasible mid-season, and that'd piss off a load of people who are kind of like, it would certainly in the main stand, it would say, oh, by the way, your seat's unreserved next season. You have to get in the ground early to make sure that you can have your seat. Yeah, so that's just an idea that I saw written down that maybe worth debating, but it's flawed.
The only thing you can do, I think we've said before, is you've got to make an area. That's the only way you can do it. You've got to make an area. Find a better name than singing section, which sounds shite, but you've got to find an area where people are going to go and want to create a bit of atmosphere. I think
you call it the galley because it's the heart of a ship. I think that's what you call it. That's my two penneth.
And it's something that's going to take a lot of planning, because you'll have to work out whose season tickets are in this area, and then ask them if they could swap, and then have a delay on when season tickets go out so you can move it about a bit. But if you're going to fix it, that's the only way you fix it.
Oh yeah, it's a piece of work. It's not something that we can just well, if there was an easy solution, we would have done it by now, wouldn't we? That's the reality.
I'm trying to find this.
So the difference is now as well, compared to the atmosphere has been better when we've been shit, and that's because when you do have the big games turn up, people have been able to go and sit with the mates, but now you can't. Everyone snapped up season tickets and filled in the gaps last season, all over the ground, just got where they could in some cases.
Yeah.
And now we're stuck with that. It's a nice problem to have. Don't get me wrong, because it means that we've sold a lot of seats. But a lot of the people that bought season tickets last year, I can't get in the pontoon, I'll go in the lower, or I can't get in the lower, I'll go in the pontoon, or a lot of them are families as well, which again is great for the future. But that's why the Osmond Corner is often the best atmosphere, because it's all people that have paid on the day, and they're probably all hardcore fans that just can't justify, or most of them that can't justify a season ticket for whatever reason.
Yeah. I would move the family stand to the pontoon. I think we've said this before a million times. Move the family stand to the pontoon, because the pontoon is essentially a family stand now. And make that bit there next to the cage, the noisy bit with a drummer, and you call it something. And then you move the disabled fans into a new facility somewhere while you then build. And I think me and you, Sam, was it me and you that had this chat, or was it Matt?
With Christine, it's Crawley.
No. Yesterday, about making then a safe standing horseshoe between the Findus and the main stand all the way around with the pontoon. I think that's the overall goal. Yeah, and I think that's what you do in the future. But I think you stick a mobile classroom, who someone said for 20 years. I didn't know there's no other version of a mobile classroom, temporary classroom, is it? They stay there for 20, 30 years, don't they?
Isn't that just a classroom?
Yeah,
it's like Gillingham's away end.
Exactly, or Old Trafford. And you stick them in there with a glass fronted porta cabin to keep them warm, keep them dry, have a front bit if they want to go outside as well. Decent facilities for them, and you make that main stand bit there a little bit of a shouty part of it, and wake some of the main stand up, because the main stand has exactly the same acoustics as the Osmond does.
Yes, the main stand's also is where the kind of old generation tend to sit. As far as I can make out, it's also pretty family. So I've sat in the main stand for nearly 20 years. Stood in the main stand, for nearly 20 years.
But I think that could be the pontoon. I think you can move them around. The pontoon.
I'm not moving to the pontoon. I'm not moving to the pontoon. I'm staying in the main stand.
And this is the problem, because people are saying the same about the pontoon.
I'm not moving my seat. Problem.
I've sat here since 1995, and I'm now 62, and I don't want you to make a ruckus in the middle of the pontoon.
I am not moving from L32
in the microcosm.
I am not moving from L32 in the main stand. Yeah,
Do you know what, Sam? You're going to have Liberal Democrats soon protesting against people having to move their seats in the pontoon. You're not having anybody else here. That's what he's going to be like.
Hang on, you're going to have people protesting L32 now. He's giving away where he is. Right. So anybody that wants to go and have a go at Sam, L32 in the main stand.
Sounds a bit left wing.
Go and picket his seat.
You have to get through my dad and my you have to get through my dad and my auntie first.
All right, I think they probably part ways. Some, to be fair.
Yeah.
Here he is.
You could.
Here he is. It'll save me £15 in steals a week.
Daniel Lewis says the drummer works away now, so we can't get to every game, and I think that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah.
The shocking story. I had to buy my own lunch yesterday, Bruce. Disaster.
I'm sure you'll be putting an expenses claim into Auntie.
Yeah, well, she's coming to Walsall with us next week, so hopefully I can extort some lunch out of one of her or my dad.
Tim Hubbard says there's too many spectators and not enough supporters for there to be a rousing atmosphere. I think you're right, Tim. And I don't think this is a new thing. I think Blundell Park has been, in my lifetime, it's never had a good atmosphere.
Is it me you're going to pop out there, mate?
Sam's
Of course it is.
Sam's trying to conserve his seat, says Ben.
I cannot believe I'm getting lectures from Mike about supporting spectating town. This is a new low. This is.
You are going to get rude messages written on L32 next time you get there, by the way. People
do you want me to do another sticker?
Tip exit. Yeah.
I've got these ones. We got them.
I've got one of these, and then we'll put it on Sam's seat.
That one. That's my favourite. I'm going to stick that on Sam's seat. Bruce, do you mind if I go to the tin pot on Tuesday just to, decorate and abuse Sam's seat because no one else is going to be sat in it?
No, I don't want you to go. Thank you.
Do you know what? It's a bit of a heartache for me because I'm up in Grimsby next time round, and I can't go and watch it because you're not allowed to go.
Because it's not the thing to do. It's not the done thing, is it?
Yeah, and it hurts because there's a chance there for me to go to Blundell Park, and I don't get to take it.
Well, you and I have both sold our soul to the Devils and gone to watch the 100 this summer, haven't we, Alex? So isn't this the same thing?
I sold my soul years ago, mate. So don't worry about it. I've been watching the Tin Pot for a year or two.
Sorry, Mike was there. Mike was there the same day as me. Shows my state that day I bumped into him.
Richard says, shit refs create atmosphere, a poison chalice. They really do, actually, Richard. Yeah, they do.
We just need Declan Bourne every week.
A bit of...
No. Careful what you wish for, mate. Careful what you wish for.
Is there anything else to say before we wrap it up? Because we've got a preview from for the Walsall game, which we can talk about.
Bloody hell, this is going to be a long pod.
Are you going to Walsall? Are you going to Walsall, Bruce?
I'm not sure yet, mate. I've still got 100% at the minute. I think we played. How many games we played? 4, 5.
I'm 100% in the league. I missed the Mansfield Cup game.
First game we missed. 3 home games and 2 away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% at the minute. I think it might go on Saturday though. I'm not sure.
Mine's going to disappear at Gillingham home because it's a rail strike that day, so I won't be coming.
If we could just finish relatively soon, because some of us have been sat here for an hour and a half and have got an incredibly numb ass now.
I'm on a dining room chair. Right. Well,
I thought you'd be used to it. Surely it's just the same as a Saturday, Mike, isn't it?
My sofa's a lot more comfortable in Bordeaux, mate, than it is here.
He's got a chaise lounge.
Can't you move the sofa into your pod room?
Well, no, I've got a chaise lounge in Bordeaux.
Yeah, it's cracking vintage.
So it's a sofa bed.
Please do buy Bruce's laptops because he's and that clock
that is not falling to pieces as he's showing us it.
But please do have a look at the pod merchandise. Any feedback on it is appreciated. I have done a lot of work on it this afternoon and this week in general. So please do go have a look. If you want to support the pod, it's always worth having a look at. And if you want to buy one, that would be greatly appreciated. Please do, because that printer was very expensive. I don't know what Sam's doing, but it just keeps turning dark and back in. But Etsy.com, the N35 Pod Shop, and it'll be great. I want to thank you all for listening. Mike, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries, mate. Good to see you.
And Bruce, I shall see you on Tuesday with Burnsy, 8 o'clock sharp.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Sam, guten Abend.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. And while you're doing that, we're going to, I'm I'm going to try and play this, but we'll all sort of, thing. And I'll speak to you gentlemen later. Thank you very much.
Behind. So that's the final action of the game, which means Grimsby Town are back in the Football League just a year after those awful scenes at
I like how we've still got the old logo in the corner trying to hide the BT Sport thing. But I guess they don't count anymore. They don't exist, so it's fine. We are absolutely delighted to be joined by Rob from the Yellow Ribbon podcast. I need to get some details on what that's about. And it's great to have a lover of Alan Buckley on the show. Great to meet you. How is everything along the M6?
Well, I mean, it could be better. But equally, I'm an optimist. It could be a lot worse. So I think that's where we sit at the moment.
I mean, we could be Wrexham. It could be worse. Let's be entirely honest. So
I wonder whether there's a team that's ever scored the most goals and yet conceded the most goals in a league season.
I don't even know that. I would imagine it's the closest you could get to Newcastle United of the 90s, isn't it? Is that chaotic? We were just having a quick preamble before we clicked record, and you were saying that basically nobody bothered turning up until 88 minutes had gone, because that's when the magic happens, especially for the opposition.
Yeah, I mean, if you are making the trip down to watch Grimsby on Saturday, then you should probably just rock up. At 80th minute, I think, is the time that you'll start performing.
I mean, I'll be entirely honest. That's we've waited that long, haven't we, Mike?
We'll take it. 80th minute, we'll take it.
Okay.
God, could you imagine the abuse? No shots on target until the 80th minute. Social media is going to be a feeding frenzy. How has everything happened for you? Because to be perfectly honest, my only view of Walsall is apparently you've got a load of cash. Is that still the case?
Well, I dispute that.
Okay.
I'd say that, yes, we do have American owners. They manage a wealth fund, and the wealth fund is, well, I think it's billions of dollars in it. But as many wealth funds go, they are there to have profit made on them. And investing in the Mighty Saddlers isn't probably the most profitable business. So, yes, we do have an owner who has access, or at least is involved in high revenue, high turnover sort of company, but we aren't in receipt of that.
That's nice to get a little bit more of an understanding as to where it was. I know there was I think we played you the first game of the season. Was it the season we got relegated, Mike? And we looked absolutely fucked after 5 minutes. We were like, this is not going to go well, is it?
I think it was, and after like 30 seconds, we were like, well, there we go. That's the season.
I think everyone knew that we kind of have this thing of no one really knows first game of the season what's going to happen. But that game, I remember thinking, you're in total mess. We've got to win this. And I think we scraped a 1-0, or it was only 1 or 2-0 in the end. But yeah, we have a habit of making hard work of the so-called easier matches. No offense for that.
No, that's fine. I mean, times have changed. It's no problem at all. Edward Walker once told me that Walsall were the best run club in English Football League in terms of the lower leagues. Is that still the case? And what are the aspirations for this year?
Well, we historically always have been. I'm not going to pretend to know enough about the rest of the leagues to kind of back that claim up. Under our previous owner, from a business point of view, we were very well run. We would, albeit very modest, but we would make a profit each year. But that would come in the result of a lack of investment on the pitch. The new owners now, Trevella, yes, we made a loss, and I can't remember how much that loss was now. But seeing what other clubs have come out with in the last sort of the accounts that have sort of the last set that have been published, actually we're not doing too badly in the grand scheme of things. Our losses, yes, it's not great because you don't want to be losing money, but generally we didn't lose as much as others. So I think we are well run. We are we do live within our means. And one thing that I have to give the owners credit for before we talk about on-pitch stuff is that they are trying to make changes behind the scenes and sort of infrastructure changes as well. So they've actually bought and are renovating a building that's on the Bescot land that is called the Saddlers Club, which always used to be open for home and away fans, but unfortunately ran into a state of disrepair. They're putting the money in to do it up so that hopefully, I can't remember the time frame on it, it will be open again as a multi-purpose venue. So these sorts of things are starting to come about and hopefully take a loss.
I'll tell you something. I don't know if you know what's happening up the road from us, but you might be able to buy a stadium for spares and repairs at some point very soon, which might be of help to you. So keep your eye on Auto Trade or wherever they can sell a stadium, because you'll be able to get the seats for free at least.
Well, going on to on pitch, I think we probably a few years ago when we were relegated hoped within 2-3 seasons we'd be back in League One. However, obviously that's not transpired. We've kind of had glimpses within seasons, but we've never really been able to put together more than half a season of doing not even really well, but just consistency. So I think this season it's about, I'd say, just getting something like a top half, even a top 10 finish would be very good from our point of view. And I think the way that the opening to the league's gone, I think any team that can actually keep consistent will be up there, because it's been a chaotic start to the season for League Two.
Yeah, so just with how the season has started then, Rob, looking forward to Saturday. For a Town fan looking forward to it, what are we expect from a Walsall side? How do you play? How do you set up? And then just as we were talking off air a few moments ago about the amount of late goals you concede, what do you put that down to? Is it just unlucky, or do you think there's a fundamental reason for that?
Sorry, I'm just going to go and shut my window because it seems that every bus is going past. So I thought I'd wait until after you finish.
Oh, look at this Midlands boast about using public transport. Oh, look at us with buses.
No, it's not using, it's living near.
It's gone. It's gone. Yeah. The question's offended him. He's gone.
Yeah.
It's not
as soon as you mentioned the M6, it was, here we go.
Yeah.
Right. So, what to expect? So I would be surprised if we don't line up in the 3-5-2. I think at least 9 of our starting 11 will be the same as it was against Crewe. We went for a bit of a change in the central midfield role, and instead of playing sort of 2 more defensive-minded midfielders, we actually replaced one of those with more of a ball carrier, more of a playmaker. And for an hour against Crewe, it really worked. When we're playing well, we like to keep the ball on the deck, try and use the wing backs, get it out wide, and then, as I'm sure as a lower league fan you'll know, get the ball to Danny Johnson in the box, and he will do his thing. The issue that we've got at the moment is, I think it's a bit of managerial naivety. We make changes to try and almost park the bus, but it doesn't work. We kind of have, without giving too much away, set substitutes that you can kind of expect to be around the hour mark, which a lot of fans disagree with.
We understand that concept. It's called the Parslow effect. We had that ourselves. Bring Danny Parslow on.
Yeah.
Yeah, as is at the moment, bring Jamil Matt on, but he hasn't hit the heights of his Forest Green days.
Oh, so he's Grimsby level Jamil Matt, is he?
Yeah, it must be.
Q3 goals.
We also have a habit of not closing down crosses, so we sort of give the wingers space to get the ball in the box, which is when we have conceded the late goals, it's been sort of either flick on headers or the header itself has gone in, and it feels that it shouldn't be that difficult to defend against.
And what sort of, well, So if you were employed by our manager Paul Hurst tomorrow, how would you say is the best way to get at you and to, take advantage of your weaknesses?
I'd say probably get the ball wide, because our wing backs have been told to push on, which means that there is space in behind. Why do you play with out and out wingers then?
I think out wide's probably our stronger area at the minute.
Great. So basically, just do you, and you'll be fine.
Have you seen our goal from on Saturday?
No, I haven't. But I will that.
Enjoy it.
Okay, great.
Our left winger scored 3 in 2 games this week, so
great.
Yeah.
Well,
you're welcome, but this will not. It will not work out like this. I mean, what's for those of us who are going? What's the local tips for the Bestcott? Where do where's to park? Where's to drink? Where's to eat? What would you say?
There's street parking available, which will get you out quicker at the end of the game rather than paying for parking on site.
Good.
The pub situation is a little complicated, let's say.
Okay.
So
do we change every 15 minutes?
No, it's just that there isn't anything.
Okay.
There's actually nothing really around the ground. Like I said, when it'll be called the Saddlers Club, when that's up and running, that will be the place for away fans to go.
Okay.
However, where away fans used to drink would be the hotel that's sort of as you come into the ground. However, that is being used to hold refugees at the moment. So understandably, no fans are going in there, or they're not allowed to go in there. So I would say that pretty much you're going into the town centre and then making your way to the ground, or you're drinking inside the stadium.
Is there a Tesco and park just in the vicinity? Because that'll do most of us. Just a Tesco and some swings and a slide, and we're happy.
Look, there's an off license and a bit of grass going alongside the road.
There we go, sorted.
Counts as our
town
local
fans
park.
happy.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, what are your hopes sort of coming out of Grimsby as well then? Because we're coming into it, sort of middle of the road like most people, a draw, win, and a loss. So what are the expectations playing us, I guess?
Well, our away form has been terrible. Our last win was on Boxing Day. But actually, our home form in recent times has actually been okay. I was going to use the word good, but that's just jinxing it. Has been moderate. So I think I would like to say that we have enough about us and that we showed enough against Crewe that if we can eradicate a couple of the errors, we would have easily won that match. And I feel that in the nicest way possible. We're at home. You're not one of the favourites to go up, but then again, neither are we. So I think these are the sorts of games that if you want to have a top half finish, we need to be winning. But I know that you'll be thinking exactly the same thing about us.
Who's, I guess, final question is, I don't want to do the prediction thing because it never works well.
No.
Who do you think is going to be your man of the match? That'll be mine this year.
Okay.
Who's your guy in hot form?
Now, well, no one. It's inconsistency. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it will be Freddie Draper. He might go under the radar a bit for an away fan almost going into the match because he's lined up against Danny Johnson. We've got him on loan from Lincoln. He's 19.
That
20.
doesn't bode well. Okay.
Oh, why have you not got a good?
No, it's just local rivalry. Let's have a look. Freddie Draper. Let's make sure he's not local or anything. Where was he? Oxfordshire. Oh, good. We're fine.
If you want to win,
boiling with Lincoln blood,
put Matt up front with Draper, and they're going to bag.
Exactly.
and Lincoln.
Draper will pull off his Warsaw shirt, showing a massive imp on it.
I'll let you have the discussion about whether Matt should start with the Walsall fans on Twitter. Okay, Mike?
I think he should definitely start. And we are massively goading ourselves here to watch a, Jamil hat-trick. Sort of, bringing out his best of why did he play for Newport, Mike? Or am I mixing him up with Joyce?
No, I think he did.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm fully expecting a hat-trick now, just to goad him.
Well, you and me both. And if you're the reason that he does, then you can have a season ticket, okay?
Thank you very much. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, Freddie Draper is young. He is very bullish towards defenders and very physical in terms of he is strong, but he's also quick. He hustles defenders and he's sort of starting to get into his own a bit. So I'm going to go with Draper. I was going to go with someone else, but that would be controversial.
Oh, go on. You've got to give us the controversial one now. I want Walsall fans foaming at the mouth.
We've got enough of Town fans foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
If I'm a big fan of Isaac Hutchinson. However, he blows very hot and cold.
What do you like about him and what do people hate about him?
I like the fact that I think he's technically gifted. He can score a goal or two. He's very good at progressing play. And that's the reason that people don't like him is because it's the inconsistency. Everyone knows what he can do, but it's just there are games where he goes missing, where sort of he doesn't take shots, he loses possession, picks out the wrong pass. But when he's on it, he's really on it.
Okay. And why is that controversial? What do Walsall fans, the more negative ones, what don't they like about him?
Just it's the inconsistency.
Okay.
Sort of during games when he's off it, he kind of doesn't seem to be able. It's not like an off 5 or 10 minutes. He seems to have matches where he's off, and that's where the kind of the controversy comes in.
So we got to wait. So everyone is going to be weighted with bated breath on his first touch. So if he rolls off and goes out for a throw.
But you know what? If he sets up a Jamil Matt hat-trick, then what do I know?
mean, I'll be entirely honest. We'll be setting up the Jamil Matt hat-trick. Don't you worry about that. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the season. And where can, if everybody wants to get an eye on sort of the preview for Walsall, where can they find you?
So we are at Ribbon Podcast on Twitter. The reason why I think you were probably alluding to is there is a chant called She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
Okay. Oh, fine. Fair enough.
It's very straightforward. We don't have the creativity of going beyond that.
Don't worry. Ours is Mariner, shouted really long and loud, and that's about it. Oh, and clap, clap, fish, isn't it, Mark?
And our podcast is literally the postcode.
Yeah.
I should take it back. Maybe we are quite creative.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry.
Got a letter and thought, what can we call it? There we go. That'll do.
Yeah. We put it on a shirt and they charge by the letter, we're quids in, Mike. So I don't know what you're talking about. They've got yellow ribbon. They're going to be broke.
Yeah, we are. Or maybe just YR.
Yeah, exactly. Why are we here? Which is exactly what we're saying at full time at Walsall. Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers,
good luck for the rest of the season. See you later.
Open wide for some soccer!
And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
I don't think I've ever wanted to be on a stand more than my life running there. They're going crazy. Say, they got a penalty here. There'll be fish flying about there. There's no tomorrow.
What a magnificent piece of football! Really